Bleav in Vikings, the October 26th edition, with a 5-1 team that hopes to go to 6-1 for the first time since 2009. Sally, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. It's good to see you guys. It's been a couple weeks, right?
It
2 weeks.
is.
Yes.
It is. We took a
Yeah.
bye week off because we went down to see Bryant in the Vikings when he was kind enough to invite us in his suite. And thank you again, Bryant. That was a memory of a
Yeah,
lifetime.
appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome, man. We got a good win out of that game too.
Yeah, and some good food
Sally,
and good
Ron talked.
camaraderie.
Sally,
You know
Ron
I
talked
like
the
to
whole
talk.
game.
What was Brian? What did you just say?
I said Ron talked the entire game, Sally.
Seriously, Brian, before
Yeah,
you got on last week, I had a talk with him about that.
I
So
wasn't drunk or
I
anything. It's
see
just
he
when I'm
didn't
around.
listen.
I was. It's just like
It was
talking
funny
to.
though. It was funny.
Yeah. No,
I put
I
somebody
love my
Snapchat. I said, "Oh,
buddies.
he's still talking, to y'all."
Well, because I was talking with Joey, Jalen Naylor's brother.
Oh yeah,
Like he was telling me how he doesn't really understand much about football. So like I'm trying to explain some stuff to him as
he's a
going
track guy.
on.
Yeah,
Like yeah, but it's super nice guy. Like and then Josh was great too.
yeah.
So the owner of the suite. So it's hard. Like again, like just I find it very easy to just have a conversation and talk, as you guys all know in here. So yeah, no, it was a good time. It was great.
So wait a second. So to set the stage for listeners and watchers, Jalen Naylor's little brother was there with
Big
us.
brother, big
But
brother.
that was his big brother?
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's
Oh,
like his birthday's today, I think, and he's like
it is.
30.
It's actually today, y'all.
really?
Yeah,
And that guy
he's my
didn't
wife's
understand
age. So.
football?
He was a
He just
track guy. He
he.
ran at USC. He's more track.
Mhm. Yep. See, I
Mm.
picked up on all this, Brian. That's what we were
Yeah.
talking about. But no, yeah, he watches his brother. He roots for him. But the rest of football, it just he understands like the basics of it. But as far as any type of X's and O's, anything like that,
Yeah.
he
I
just looks
thought
for
I
83.
thought that dude was like 19.
Nah.
All right.
He's the
He
long
needed he
distance
needed a
runner. So
tutorial. Ron needed to give him a tutorial.
Yeah,
What did he learn?
Ron was the man for the job.
he did say he responded to one of your stories, Brian. He's like, I learned a lot about football. But no, yeah, he was a good guy. We hit it off pretty well. So
Well,
Yep.
it looked fun, and I'm glad that you guys were in the AC because it would not have been fun out there.
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
And Dustin, you're looking a little tan. Ron, you're looking a little tan also.
yeah,
Yeah, my wife and I were down there till Tuesday. We went down to the Keys and for
Oh,
the
you
day.
did?
Yep, we were all the way down to Key West and had lunch and drove back. It was pretty awesome.
Oh my gosh, I
You
love
rode,
that.
you rode across that 7 Mile bridge,
Yeah.
that long bridge, y'all.
Yeah, that was what my wife wanted to do. We got down to Marathon and had lunch, and I was like, who cares if we get back at the hotel at like midnight? We might as well go now. So we went all the way down to the southernmost continental spot in America.
Yup.
Yeah, that was pretty badass.
Yeah.
Well, the
clear day you
Vikings
can see
won.
Cuba too, right? Or
My
is that a myth?
yeah, you can.
Yeah, you can. I mean,
Okay.
it's not close, but yeah, you
Yeah.
can see it.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a lot of cool shit there. There's just chickens that walk around like it ain't no
Yeah.
thing. Yep.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
My family has a place on Marathon Key.
Oh,
Oh
really?
So
yeah.
yeah, I know it very well. And it's open in the summer if you ever want to take a Bleav trip, we can do that sometime.
See, you say stuff like that. That's what happened when our friend Wes Johnson said that about Hawaii, and we had that trip we had that trip booked in about a week after
Yeah,
that.
well, it can happen. It's
Wow.
got to pay the cleaning fee. That's the rules.
All right, so 24-16, the Vikings were triumphant in Miami. Bryant kind of had dual citizenship with both teams, which surprised us a little bit. We thought this was all gung ho Vikes, but no, he played for the
No, it
Dolphins.
was.
He was, yeah,
No.
It's just in a Dolphin suite every week, so you know what I'm saying.
yeah.
But I
Yeah.
mean, when it comes down to it, it's definitely for me the Vikings. I mean, the Vikings who gave me my opportunity. So when people ask me that, I'm like, well, of course I'm cheering for the Vikings. I mean,
Yeah,
any other time I'll be cheering for the Dolphins, but
fair
when it
enough.
comes to them head to head, it's the Vikings.
One thing that was funny, Sally, was so Wes, myself, my wife, and Ron's wife sat in the front row for most of the time. And I think either the fumble or the Dalvin Cook interception or both, those happened and we like erupt. We're like, yeah. And the people that are sitting in the stands like look up, they look it up like who the hell are these people? And I'm
Oh,
not
I
used to
bet.
keeping it quiet when I'm at a game because I go to all the Vikings games. And so yeah, they just dirty looks galore. It was pretty funny.
And Dustin, I think my
Yeah.
wife learned, like, because I know you've talked about like how like you're in your zone when you're watching the game, like you prefer to just be by yourself. I think my wife, like, she saw you in that element, was like, doesn't he's really into the game, doesn't he? I'm like, oh, yeah. Like I think he said in the past that he couldn't watch a playoff game
Mm-mm.
with anyone, like if it
No,
were a road game or something.
no, I wouldn't for the playoffs, the Super Bowl. I wouldn't just have people over because I don't want to have them see that side of me. That's like seriously like a fourth grader. Like my emotions swing. I jump up and I don't know it's diabolical what happens to me. So
It wouldn't expect that though, because you're so level-headed and like analytical in the version of you that I see. So
yeah
I would
that
like to
But I
see
feel like
that
that's with
some
a lot of Libras. Like people see that only one side of a Libra, and then all of a sudden they're like, "Whoa, I didn't expect that."
it's the scales. It's the scales.
yeah that's
Yeah.
that's the only
Oh
point
my
of
gosh.
that's the only point of my life that does it is during in some LeBron Cavs and Lakers games when the Lakers were good, and then the Vikings. It's like I just morph for about 3 hours. I morph into a fourth grader with my emotion. And I don't like punch walls or anything. I just get really excited and get really salty when things start to go bad. Just arms crossed and just like this. And you guys know the feeling.
So are you going to Lakers game Friday?
No,
Oh, okay. Bummer.
no, we could have a show about the Lakers. It's just a nightmare. It's just the same shit it felt like the season never ended. Just my goodness. All right, Vikings football, the bye week. I got to ask you, Sally, if this team is to make a trade, we have a general manager who adores trades. You don't have to necessarily give me a dude, but what position would you like them to focus on if they were going to swing a trade?
Gosh, I haven't even thought about it, but I think I'm pretty happy with how the offense has been performing for them, other than those like what 11 3 and outs. But in general, I am. But the defense, I think we all know needs some work. So someone in the secondary or helping out with the run defense would be acceptable for me.
Ron, there's a couple cornerbacks allegedly on the trade market, like Sidney Jones, the fourth, William Jackson, the third, Sean Murphy Bunting, a slot corner. And then there's some dudes like on the defensive line, Deron Payne, supposed to be on the block. Would you like to see the team add somebody via trade? Because they probably have to dip into 2024 draft capital or use that fifth rounder that's chilling in the 2023 bank.
Well, I mean, Deron Payne's name that would interest me. Just he's one of those guys that I feel like is perfect as a 3-4 defensive end. Just he's got the size, but he's also got the athleticism, and then can be a three technique on passing situations. But yeah, that would be my biggest concern is up front. I mean, obviously Tomlinson's been playing great, and Harrison Phillips has been good, and our pass rush is starting to come alive. Patrick Jones had his 2 sacks. And obviously Daniil, we know the talent that he is, and Zadarius Smith is making an impact. So I think we're okay there at the linebacking core. But getting beefy guys up front would always be good because I don't want to see us giving up 7-8 yards per rush, which it seems like we've been
Well,
doing
that's
for
getting
teams
better
that
though.
stick with it. It has been. But it's not like the Dolphins are, it's not like they pound the rock. Like,
Yeah.
they use their speed. But I'm worried about, not saying I'm worried about like the Bears per se, but how the Bears play, where they just give the ball to right up the middle and they go. And a team like that, doesn't matter how good they are, they would right now they'd be getting it at 4 or 5 yards a clip on us, and then that's all they need to do. So otherwise, I'm happy with the roster. We've been able to stay healthy, which I think has been key. So if they make a move, I think it'll be more of a luxury than anything else, and I don't see us, going too high on draft capital to swing something.
Yeah, the run defense has improved, but to your point, nobody really even knows who Dolphins running backs are, at least from a fantasy perspective. You never really start them unless you're in a true pinch. So we shall see if they do make any moves. Brian, I had this at the top of my agenda and I buried the lead. Tell us about your trip to Baltimore.
That's what I was gonna
Yeah.
ask.
Oh, it was a great trip.
Yeah.
Some of those guys I haven't seen since I left. That was my first time actually being back in Baltimore since I left.
Wow.
But it's funny how, you know, you always hear people talk about like the cohesiveness in the locker room and things like that. And I was like, yeah, whatever. And then when I went back, I said, no, this is for real. Like everybody kind of picked right back up to like where they left off, like far as just everything, cracking jokes, just it was like almost like as if we never were apart for 9 to 10 years. and just everything would just bring back to normal. I got a chance to talk to Coach Harbaugh because I said to him, he changed. He changed as a coach and everything. I told him he was able to adapt to the new generation, and he was just like, "Yeah, I have to." We like, I couldn't talk to these guys how I talk to you guys because people go to shutting down and not responding. Where I can come in and insult you guys, and you'll go out there and have a great game afterwards. And I was like, "That's crazy." And then even talking to we had like two players that's still on the team from our Super Bowl team, and they were saying how it's different too. And
who's the second one? I know Tucker.
Tucker, and you have a linebacker. Well, I can't think his name right now. He's a linebacker. That's on the team. He was on our team as well. He actually just came back to Baltimore, but he was on the team as well.
McPhee? Is that what it is?
Not McPhee.
Okay.
I'm terrible with names too, so I guess I know everyone's name, but on the spot I forget
his face is right here, and I cannot think his name right now.
It was funny to see, like, whenever, like, especially with Harbaugh, like, obviously the relationship you guys have, whenever, like, you were doing a story with him, he had the biggest smile on his face, which you don't see on the sidelines, him smiling. But it was like anytime, like, the phone came out to record something, he was just smiling. And
he said, like, when he's seen all of us come walk in, because we went to their practice on Saturday morning, and he was like out here, with his current guys, and he looked over at us like, but those are my guys too. Like, you know what I'm saying? So it was just like funny to him, like, wow, almost like a school teacher, I guess. A school teacher, like their kids go on and graduate, and then you see a group of them come back. He just like was looking, and he just remembered all the different personalities. And but he just knew it was two different time periods. Like this group, I had to be like this with them, and in this group, I'm like this. But it was good. I definitely feel like he was excited. He definitely made an announcement. I was like, Brian McKinney, you look great. Thank you. Some people gain weight. Some people got a lot smaller, and then some people just
Marshall Yanda. Like when you were next to Marshall Yanda, or like
Marshall. It took me a minute because Marshall used to have like a big beard. He was heavier, and now he's like clean shaven and everything. And I was like,
yeah, he looked just tiny. He looked like a wide receiver, not an offensive lineman.
Right.
The weird thing about that, Bryant, especially for Harbaugh or any coach who's been around since 2012, is that there must have been like an inflection point or a draft class where he's like, holy shit, this is different now. Because
no, I asked that question.
Oh, you did?
He said 2017 is when it was different. For him, he said 2017.
Oh, interesting.
Really? Yeah, and then you have to decide if you're just gonna be Zimmerish and stick to your guns, or
and that's what I told him. I said you did a great job adapting, making the change you needed to make as a coach to be able to now kind of fit in with this, group of guys who is a different set of guys, it's a different way you have to go about coaching and everything. So he was able to make that adjustment.
Yeah, amen to that.
That's interesting because I would think it'd be more of a gradual change. But it sounds like he said one day it was different.
I said, what year did you realize it changed? He was like, 2017. He was like, I guess it's like, oh, this is different.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's right in the middle of 2012 and 2022 mathematically. So perhaps it was just just a new wave or whatever.
All right, I wonder, was that when Terrell Suggs, was that his last year in Baltimore? And I wonder if that...
It might have been like around that time or a little before that.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a turn of the page if that's the case, because obviously your team had a lot of big personalities, with Ed Reed, Ray Lewis, Terrell Suggs.
I realized that this weekend again.
Yeah. So, I'm sure as a coach, like, not that you're turning the page in a bad way to get away from that, but you can kind of do it in your own way now with the younger generation, the younger guys.
With our group, that you could tell who the leaders are, and I feel like sometimes when I watch the generation now, I can't tell who the leader is. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can just tell who will step and be leaders out there. I just still don't really know who the leader is. Like when I watched their practice, I stood in, I just seen a group of guys. And I feel like that's what makes it a little different, where it seemed like it's a group of guys out there playing football. And I feel like with us, it was a team playing football. You know what I mean? Because everybody were close. And I realized even when I did my podcast for the Canes tonight, it seems like it's a bunch of individuals. They said something about the quarterback saying, oh, well, get these receivers and y'all do y'all own 7-on-7 on Saturdays because we can't coach. And the quarterback's like, well, I don't have everybody's number. And it's like, you
What?
have everybody's number. Like, but our generation, you're going to get it. Like your quarterback's going to have everybody's number or be able to get it. You shouldn't have to ask a coach. So that's why I say, like, it seems like a little more individuals now than it was, when I was coming up. I feel like it was definitely more team, but now it seems a little more individuals that play on the team.
Yeah.
So you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like
No, it makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Like a lot of us hung out in Minnesota, Baltimore, even when I was in college, a lot of us hung out outside of work, and whatever we were doing, going to basketball games, nightclubs, whatever we were doing, we hung out outside of work still and still build a camaraderie where I feel like a lot of people do a lot more of their own individual things once they leave work. Like they come to work and they kind of just treat it as work. It's work. And now when I go home, I don't really have to deal with everybody else,
Well, I think that has a lot to do with social media and how that's evolved
It
because
does.
now everyone has their own brand. They want to be their
Right.
own, like their own individual self. Like even if you look at a lot of guys' Instagrams, they don't have team pictures on there. It's all
Yeah.
pictures of
For
themselves
yeah.
in their cars or their whatever. And I just think everyone's trying to make a personal brand.
But one thing I was always told, I think this is by Coach Loney. He was the offensive line coach. You have 5 individuals. When you put them together and make a fist that's a lot stronger than these 5 individuals. Like, you know what I'm saying? So you got to start coming together as more of an impact. So even with those individuals, with their brands, if you start aligning yourselves with each other and promoting each other and everything, y'all are still like reaching more people. So they have to understand that.
Right, absolutely. But I think just we grow up now. I don't mean just football players, just in general.
Just in general, yeah.
Everyone grows up on the internet, so people don't really learn how to communicate and have those big groups of friends like we do.
Right.
I don't know, but yeah,
and
that
it's
is
like
how it is.
they post like all these things on social media. It looks fun, but then they get in person. It's like you're not really that exciting. Your
And there's
personality is
nothing.
that big.
They can't hold
You
a
can look fun for these
conversation.
little 20-second windows, but then it's like, oh,
Yeah. Yeah, there's like no
And with
substance.
and this could be a perfect segue into this weekend with Kyler Murray, but like they play video games, like and I like to play video games myself, but they go and that's their social aspect. So the face-to-face communication, like they don't have that, like of the going out. It's we're gonna go home, play video games, and like I said, the segue with Kyler Murray and on days where Modern Warfare like has something going on, he struggles that week. So good thing Modern Warfare Call of Duty comes out this weekend for him. So
Jeez, yeah.
Indeed, the Vikings play those Cardinals, who are 3-4, and we're not sure which version we'll get: the Moody Murray mediocre team, or the team that we saw last year that beat the Vikings by point. So, Sally, how are you feeling about this Cardinals game? Tell me your meter.
Honestly, I mean, I don't feel bad about it. I think again, the Vikings in general, we're still learning a lot about them. It's been 6 games that have been all really different, but they found a way to win 5 of those. So I'm not necessarily worried about it. This is like the first time ever that I haven't felt like the Vikings are going to be sloppy after a bye right away. I guess we'll see. But I do think that they're kind of the Cardinals are just self-destructing, and that's kind of how you want them, right? Especially at US Bank Stadium where it's going to be really loud. It seems like a lot of people are going because the ticket prices are way more expensive than they normally are. So I think people are fired up, and the Cardinals are going to have to deal with that.
So DeAndre Hopkins is back because, of course, he is like a week or two before the Vikings game. If this thing was in Arizona, I would probably pick the Cardinals. But like Sally, it sounds like I'm leaning towards the Vikings just because they'll have home field advantage. But we're kind of at a point at 5-1, knock on wood for 2016 history. Like we keep asking, was this team any good? If they get to 6-1 or 7-1, that question doesn't even really matter anymore because they've stacked enough wins. Even if they lose this week, it's not, on the internet, it will be, oh my God, they weren't that good to begin with. But they'd only be 5-2, which is no reason to panic. So, Ron, where are you at with this game?
I think I think this bye week, one, we'll learn a lot about Kevin O'Connell, and I think from what we've seen from him the first 6 games, I think they're going to come out and they're going to be prepared. I don't think you're going to see that whatever it was in spurts over the past few years where like they come out and just look dull. Like I know the whatever fat cats get slaughtered, like that was whatever a couple years ago, and they come out and lay an egg. But I think him being a new coach, wanting to put his stamp on things, I think he has a good grasp of his relationship with his players, and it seems like that again, we've talked about it a lot here. We've heard everything where the environment is just different, and I think that's gonna be a huge factor. Again, and we're at home now. It does scare me the legs of Kyler Murray, but I think overall, outside of Hopkins, they don't really have many weapons on offense. I mean, the vaunted AJ Green may be traded to the Packers, and which 10 years ago would have been scary, but otherwise losing Marquise Brown, Rondale Moore, I know had that big one against us last year, but I think we're in a better spot. Booth is healthy. Our injury report is practically clean. So
Mm-hmm.
you can't ask for more coming out of a bye home game, being the better team and being healthy.
Bryant, from your playing days, no matter which team, Vikings, Ravens, or Dolphins, do you have memories of rust after a bye week or refreshed after a bye week?
I feel like I'm normally refreshed because like you may hang out a little bit, but your body is not like a lot of wear and tear on your body though for the most part. So it should be like a little refreshed. I feel like that week in practice though is you're getting like a little of the rust out because you're not as active. So like having a week off of not like really working out is like you're getting a rust out that that Wednesday and Thursday, but then come Friday you should be right back into it and ready to be a little more physical this next game because you should have healed from you had more time to heal from the other game. Instead of 1 week you had 2 weeks now of no contact or anything. So they should be ready to play physical.
Well, Lake Minnetonka is known for being refreshing. So,
It is, isn't it?
I was wondering what you were smiling about, but it makes sense now. Yeah.
but speaking of bye week, there was a while there where the Vikings were always finding themselves in a bit of trouble on bye week, and we do have one person in trouble right now. Do we have any updates on that situation?
Yeah, did you read the statement from his lawyer?
No, I haven't
Okay.
checked in today.
So for listeners who maybe aren't quite as obsessed with this like we are, Oli Udo evidently stayed in Miami or flew back there and was arrested Saturday night for resisting an officer without arrest. He allegedly was talking to some woman and like followed her or tried to follow her into a bathroom. And so he was arrested. Today, his lawyer, of course, that's said it was categorically false, and that the woman like even is vouching for him and said, "No, we exchanged phone numbers. Like this dude didn't do anything odd." So I don't know if he was
Oh,
just,
okay.
I don't know if he was drunk and just didn't want to be touched by security guards or police, but who could blame him?
Got it. Okay.
So I think
Yeah.
it'll kind of blow over.
And the
Cool.
resisting arrest it was resisting arrest without violence. So that just could mean that he's walking away. Like,
Yeah.
and if you're as big of a man as he is, like, how as a cop are you gonna, like, it's probably good that the cop didn't engage with him, because then who knows, then stories get disheveled. But yeah, like when I saw the news today that she basically said, nope, that didn't happen. Like, whatever, whether she embellished on the spot or whether someone else did on her behalf, it's good that it's at least a no big deal, no nothing.
Yeah, and he's still on the team. So if there was smoke there, fire there, then he may have been cut with the culture this regime tries to preach. So I think the charges will be dropped, but that's just speculation from how emphatic the attorney was. Here's one thing I was thinking about. I'll start with you, Sally. So the Vikings are 5-1. And the Giants are 6-1. And I think the past couple of weeks we've been trying to figure out if the Giants were frauds. And once they beat the Jaguars, now they're 6-1. And it kind of dawned on me for them. I don't think anybody thinks the Giants are Super Bowl contenders. So it doesn't really matter if they're frauds. They have enough of a lead that they're
Right.
probably going to be a wild card playoff team. But for the Vikings, we don't know if we have them pegged as just a playoff team or a Super Bowl team. So here's what I want to ask you. Do they need at least 2 games of home field advantage to be considered a Super Bowl contender? Can you see them being road warriors?
Oh gosh, 2 game. I have they ever had 2 games? I guess 1998, right? But since then, no. They need at least one. I don't know about two, but they need at least one. Obviously, I can't believe we're even talking about this right now.
Why?
I was about to say I can't see the NFC Championship.
Oh.
No, I'm not talking about that right now. It would be great to see them get at least one because it's been a long time since that's happened. Well, 2017, but they need that for sure. But what a blessing it is that the Packers are so far behind. Um, and kind of the rest of the NFC other than the East too. So it should be a lot more obtainable than it has been in years past.
Ron, if the Vikings hold on to this 2.5 game lead over the Packers, they would probably host a playoff game in the wild card round and then get a second one at home, assuming they won. And then if the Eagles were still on top, then either go there or hope that they lose. Do you think that the Vikings need to have some semblance of home field advantage throughout to get to the Super Bowl, or is this just my old road demons talking out loud here?
I don't think they need it. I think obviously it'll help, and if we have to go to Philly, that would be the worst goddamn thing out there. Championship game in Philly, I wouldn't be there. I wouldn't. But then also the stories from last time, there would be even less fan support, I would assume, that goes out there. But really, realistically, I mean, I don't even know what other team could or really would overtake for because the Giants, yes, and the Cowboys are there, but they're in the East, so it has to be the South or the West. And the Niners aren't looking like a complete team, and Tampa. So knock on wood, I think we will. If we do our job, we'll finish it with that 2 seed. But you'll have to hope for some Eagles losses along the way. But at this point, it doesn't matter if it's home or away. I don't think. I think they've matured enough to start this season, and will continue to build off of that. Where I think they'll be able to at least handle some things. I don't know if I'm not predicting a Super Bowl, but they won't be overmatched. It won't be 41 donut.
I really don't
Brian,
like
unfortunately,
talking
weren't on
about
that team.
this. I don't. We have 11 more games. I don't
I
think
know
it's really
it's soon.
appropriate to talk about this right now. 2016 obviously is
What would the
too far
record
in your
need to
rear view.
be? What would the record need to be for you to start thinking about home field advantage in the playoffs?
I mean, I'm not going to act like it hasn't crossed my mind frequently, but I just think we need to pump the brakes. Maybe we should talk about, this week a little bit more or the following week or what's going on with the Packers, or I don't know. It just seems very premature, I think.
Well, Bryant's Super Bowl winning team won 2 road games en route to win over the 49ers. I think they won. Was it? I know the AFC Championship was in New England, and the week before that, you beat
Denver, the number 1 and 2 seeds.
Yeah. Yeah, he doesn't forget that. All right, Sally.
Well, and Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Let's not forget that at halftime we have Jared Allen's Ring of Honor induction ceremony.
Oh, yes.
And I would like to know what time Bryant is flying in for that.
That's this Sunday?
Uh-huh.
I feel like I've been on the road so much lately.
Sir, this should be a priority for you.
I know.
I bet so many
go
people
back out of town again the following weekend for Michael Orr's wedding. I was looking to come to Minnesota. I want to say the Dallas game.
Okay.
That's the game Ron's going to.
Yeah.
Well, Brian's going to have a few weeks off of talking to him, so that'll be appropriate. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, so that's going to be great. I bet a lot of guys are going to be in town for that, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Except for Bryant.
Yeah. Well, he's a road. He did his own reunion, Sally. Come on, this was last week.
That's appropriate. Of course he should do that. But anyways, that's all I
Let's talk.
had to add.
You asked for it, we'll deliver. Let's talk about those Packers who've lost 3 games in a row to the Giants, Jets, and Commanders. Commanders the most embarrassing because the other New York teams now apparently are decent.
Can I tell you what's funny about that?
Yeah, please do.
The NFL players choir sang the national anthem in the game.
Yeah.
Oh.
I know.
So I couldn't be there because I was in Baltimore. I was right up the road in Baltimore.
Yeah. Your schedule is filling up.
I know, right?
A lot of conflicting things going on.
Busy.
And it's Scorpio season now too. And
it is. Shelly's birthday season.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we'll have to
Ooh.
get Shelly on
Yeah, it's
here.
been about a year. My goodness.
Good.
Uh,
So
But
Sally, yeah,
yeah.
these Packers. So we can't talk about home field advantage. We can talk about the Packers' demise. Do you think it's for real? Do you think it's gonna keep going, or will they have a resurgence here?
Well, I mean, I feel like it is for real, and they are having a lot of inner turmoil and self-destruction. However, we had this conversation, what, over a year ago, and I said the same thing, and I was incorrect. So I do think that it's possible they can turn it around, but it's obvious that ayahuasca did not do anything for Aaron Rodgers, and his attitude is so. It's just so, well, I was going to say it was bad, but then he came out in the press conference and said that they're going to beat Buffalo on Sunday night, and it's the best thing for them that they're in this position. I guess we'll see, but I don't think it's going to happen. And at this point, I'm not really worried about them catching the Vikings because their schedule is so much more difficult
Mm-hmm.
going forward.
I don't
They
think you
lost to
ever.
the teams they should have won.
I don't think you ever
So,
poo-pooed the Packers. I think we both were wrong about Rodgers leaving last offseason 2021. And then we were gleeful when they got their asses beaten week 1 in 2021. But I don't think either one of us ever were like, oh, they're done.
no, not that they were done, but I thought that this chaos that we're seeing coming out now between LaFleur and him and the things that seemed like they were fundamentally broken from our perspective, I those are the same things that are coming out now, right? So they obviously mended it for a little while, so it's possible again.
So Ron, the 3-4 Packers, I think I tweeted this on Sunday. Like, I don't think anybody doubts that they have the oomph to get back in the race, but they have 7 games against the Dolphins, the Bills, the Rams. I think the Rams are on the
Cowboys.
Cowboys, Vikings. They have like 7 games against opponents that make you raise your eyebrow. So that's the problem now. And that's the deal when you dig a 3-4 hole. Do you think that they'll end up catching the Vikings for the division, or be a wild card?
I don't see them catching the Vikings. And at this point, I would say I lean more that they're not making the playoffs than they are. I mean, things are starting to just fall apart. I mean, it's almost like Rodgers' second family at this point. But he throws everyone under the bus. He will never take blame for anything. He even when he went on with Pat McAfee yesterday and said there's some young guys out there whose heads aren't in the game and they should probably get benched. You don't say that as a quarterback. I mean, you look at Matt Ryan in the class he acted after getting benched for a 6th round second year player. Like, and he was like, now it's my job. My job is focused to now making him be the best player ever. If Rodgers were to ever get benched, he's walking his ass off the field. He's going Antonio Brown on it. And I now, again, I'm not saying it's all his fault because I feel like in a way he's been mistreated by the organization because he's gotten no help. And I get it. The frustration would build, but man, there's a lot of him in everything where when things go wrong, it's him. He's throwing people under the bus. He's saying things that, as if you're the leader, you shouldn't. And I think he looks like he's aging 20 years for every day. Like just I don't know if it's the hairstyle, the gray beard, which I'm all too familiar with. But man, I do not see it going well. Like the rest of the year, and then they're going to get their asses kicked likely on Sunday. And then what are they going to do at that point? So, I mean, you really hate to see it, I guess, as a Vikings fan, but no, you don't. This is the best.
The funny part, coming off 3 wins in a row, the last one in Washington, is that I would challenge you to script a tougher matchup to try to get right than
Mm-hmm.
going to Buffalo right now.
Right.
I mean,
Mm-hmm.
maybe a case could be made for KC. Eagles probably isn't as bad because it's NFC and rival or tradition or whatever. But yeah, it's like, who's up next? Oh, it's the Super Bowl, aspiration Bills, and it's in
Off of
their
a bye
building.
week.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like it's scripted for them to be 3-5. But I suppose if
But to
anybody.
me, he can't be salty about not getting the help and all that because he signed up for this again.
Mhm.
Exactly.
So he only has himself to blame at this point. He could be playing somewhere else. So he has to take some sort of accountability. But he's such a hypocrite because he goes out there last week and says, we better not have any locker room leaks to the press this week. Everyone needs to keep it in house. And then he goes out there in national media and bashes the same guys. You can't build any trust with people when you act like that. Like, the rules don't apply to you. It doesn't matter that he's Aaron Rodgers, right? Like, he's got to lead by example if he wants people to trust him.
And I want to point
And the
out
whole,
as well,
like-
he's just not playing very good. Like, he isn't the Rodgers from the last 2 years. He looks not good.
And then the whole, like, there's that section of Packer fans that will always point to like refereeing or something as if they're not the beneficiary of so many calls and so many different games through over the years. And it's hilarious to look at that. But and Sally, my favorite part is reading through your tweets about listening to their wine line or whatever. And
I haven't actually,
that was great.
they haven't, none of them that I've heard have complained about the referees at all in my research. It's bad.
That's just random things I see, I guess. So
it was Carl Gerbschmidt. He said that if you don't think,
well, he's a character. He's not a real person.
Oh, he's not a real person. I didn't know that. Oh, I thought he was a real guy.
No, most people think he is. Oh shit, I shouldn't have said that. But he's not a real person. Edit that out. I don't want to get in trouble.
All right, Bryant, what do you got for prediction Vikings Cardinals in Minneapolis?
I feel like we'll pull this off. I can see this being like 27-14 game.
Oh, okay. So somewhat convincing. I did soul searching on this one. I didn't feel great about it, but I ended up just going with the home team, 30-23. Sally, you're immune to score predictions. But
I want to do a score this time.
Oh, you do? Okay.
I had one.
This is what a week off did for you.
So I think it is going to be close, how they all have been, but that's not a Vikings exclusive thing. I was also going to say 27, and I was going to say 27-23. So we're very close.
Ooh, okay. All right, Ron, what do you got? I'm guessing it sounds like you're going purple.
Yep. So I think it will be a little bit closer. And I think it'll be a little more high scoring. I think now they're not going to score 2 defensive touchdowns like they did last week against, I don't even remember who they played, but I think I think it'll be about like a 31-27 type game. I think, again, just looking at the health of our squad coming home after a bye. I think they're going to start to see some things click. I know that first half Miami was a little brutal, but whether that was the heat or not, I think they'll come home and they'll put some points on the board. But I do see the Cardinals, keeping pace at least for the most of it. So hopefully we have it in hand and it's a late score for them and not us having to sweat it out. But I'll take a win either way.
Yeah, and you'll recall when we were at that Miami place, I think it was called Duffy's, Ron, after the Vikings game.
Duffy's, yeah.
Yeah, the Seahawks beat the Cardinals 19-9. So that factored into my decision making. Like, God, they can only put 9 points up on the Seahawks. I know Hopkins is back, blah blah blah. But yeah, we'll see if we'll be 6-1. All right, group, we'll be back on Monday night after Bengals Browns to digest this one. Any closing arguments from the group?
Nope. Just see you Sunday. Can't wait.
Absolutely. All right, Bryant, Ron, we'll see you. We'll talk to you on Monday evening. Okay.
Sounds good.
All right.